Hi book friends, welcome back to my channel, Book Girl Cowrie. I'm Cowrie. I saw this book at Barnes & Noble and isn't it just gorgeous? I absolutely love the gold detailing. If you know me, yeah, you can get me gold folding pretty much every time. I love a pretty book. This is the second book technically that I read after the Atlas 6, and as I was just getting back into reading, I decided to grab it from the library. So I grabbed it, I read it, and we're going to talk about it today. It's a Latin-based book where 10 children of the gold and jade gods and goddesses, or Dios and Diosa, are chosen to compete in the Sunbearer Trials. The book follows the main character, Teo, who is a jade semidiosa or demigod, the child of Jade goddess Quetzal, the goddess of birds. The book has something of a Goblet of Fire feel, in my opinion, because the jade demigods aren't usually chosen to participate, but 2 are chosen this time, and their parents are not too happy about it, but they have to compete. It is what it is. There are 5 trials, and for the most part, the kids are ranked based off of their performance. However, the metrics are a little confusing, and I honestly wasn't able to figure out exactly what they were going for at any given time, and the rankings sometimes seem to be all over the place and not have any real rhyme or reason. The trials themselves, however, were so entertaining. They were action-packed and they were even funny. They occurred in different gods and goddesses cities, and so you get to see different cities, and the kids even like take little field trips in the city, so that was really fun to see the different cultures in the different cities. And honestly, I think the trials themselves would translate well to the big screen, and I feel like it's definitely something that I would watch, whether it be a cartoon or live action. I just really enjoyed reading the trials. They're so well written. Alright, so first we're going to talk about the not so good. Number 1, this book has a plethora of characters, and I do mean a plethora. There are so many gods and goddesses that are introduced in this book, as well as demigods outside of the 10 children that are chosen to participate in Sunbearer Trials. Most of the characters are introduced really early on in the book, and it gets a little overwhelming, a little hard to keep track of them, and so that was something I really wasn't too happy with or keen on. I just felt a little lost in the beginning when characters kept being introduced. I found it hard at first to get into the book. There's a lot to learn in the beginning of the book, which isn't unexpected. That's in every fantasy book, where you gotta learn the world and basically what's going on up until the point that you are in the book. It's understandable. However, I kept getting the distinct feeling that this book was not written for me, which was a feeling that was completely baffling, and it was hard to shake, which is something that I absolutely did not understand. I was like, what? Why do I feel this way? It honestly made me almost DNF the book. But my best friend always says that you have to give a book at least 100 pages. So that is what I did. And it took pretty much 100 pages before I was like, oh, yep, this is it. I got it. And just like flow, and able to read the book and go through it and finally shake that feeling where I was like, maybe I'm not at all the target audience, which I might not be, but not being the target audience doesn't generally give me the feeling of maybe I shouldn't be reading this. The book also for me has a tendency to paint a mile wide, like the clues, the foreshadowing as to, you know, what might happen, what's going on, and something which is a little too obvious. And pretty much halfway through the book, I pretty much was like, oh, I know what's going on. And the main reason, like, to keep reading the book is like the trials. They're so good. They're so entertaining. And so I really wish that it wasn't so like in your face with what is happening in the book, if that makes sense. And now we'll talk about the really good things. I really, and this might be weird, this might be a weird thing, but I really enjoyed the names of the gods and the goddesses. They're all in Spanish, and I do not speak Spanish. I did take it in school for 4 years, but like I can't speak it. I can't really read it, but it's fun to see what you retain, because I definitely could tell from their names what they were the god or goddess of without being told. And yes, they do tell you. They do tell you, so don't be too concerned about that. If you're worried, don't be too concerned. They do tell you what they're the god and goddess of. This, but their names make it pretty obvious, and that was fun for me. While the book is a Latin-based book, and so all the characters are Latinx, the book does representation well. Nia is one of the demigods that is chosen to participate in the trials, and she has a very gym bro vibe. She's very muscly and built up, and she kind of reminds me of Luisa from Encanto, which is nice. I love the whole of her. Teo is the main character, and he's a trans male. And then there's Zio or Zhao. I'm not really sure how it's pronounced, but it's spelled Xio. Is still like trying to figure it out. They're not really sure about their gender, and so they're going through the phase of questioning, you know, how exactly they feel and like what they feel like they are. And then Jazzy is deaf. So he is a demigod that is deaf. He communicates with sign language, and it's just fun to see him signing and his friend signing back to him, and his inclusion always in the conversation. Another thing this book does well is it highlights issues such as class disparity, because the gold gods are basically like the it gods. They kind of have life on easy street, so to say. Like they're definitely, if you you definitely want to be born a gold. The gold demigods get to go to this fancy school. They spend their life training to be heroes, and definitely have training in the schools that will give them an advantage in the Sunbearer Trials, which is something that the Jade demigods don't have. They go to normal school with the rest of humans. The Jade god and goddess temples are smaller, and they definitely have more interaction with humans, whereas the golds are a lot more sheltered and don't spend too much time like outside of their bubble. And you just have to see the prejudice where the Jades are concerned from the viewpoint of the golds. And don't get me wrong, not all of them are like that, but it's definitely a theme. There are a lot of themes of acceptance in this book, and just like finding oneself in one's voice. So I really enjoyed that. I definitely feel like it's something that kids need in their life, and you know, teens, adults, and so I think that book does this well, and people should definitely read it, even if only just for that. Overall, I would give the Sunbearer Trial a solid 3.5 out of 5 stars. It has its faults, but it's still a really decent read, and I definitely enjoyed it. And I enjoyed it enough that I intend to read the second book when it comes out. I am very curious as to how they're going to go about the next part, going from the end of the book into what they'll be doing in the second book. Thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you want to see more videos from me, subscribe to my channel. And if you have read the book or intend to read the book, let me know whether you want to read it or your opinions on the book, how you felt about it in the comments down below. I absolutely would love to hear from everyone. Alright, bye guys. See you next time.